You wake up hollow, wondering what broke inside you. She stopped answering, and the silence owns your day. That ache is not weakness, it is the symptom. You lost attention, not value. That gap becomes your work. Emotional control becomes the weapon you were taught to hide. Stoic detachment turns the wound into leverage, not escape. Understand female psychology, not to manipulate, but to measure truth. You rebuild your masculine frame by owning absence, not chasing presence. Emotional discipline keeps your thoughts lean, your moves sharp. Betrayal and lust pull like two tides, each testing your edges. Silence exposes the edges of habit. You either sharpen or bleed. You learn to measure attraction as consequence, not demand. You practice scarcity with honor, not spite. Your mind becomes the arena for disciplined desire. You turn private pain into visible calm. You hold value without apology. Every unread message becomes a test you pass with silence. This lesson is brutal, precise, and practical. Do you have the courage to let the silence prove your worth? Who will you become in the waiting? Section 1. Own the silence. What do you hear when the noise stops? When she walks out, when your phone stays cold, when your name no longer holds weight in her world. Most men rush to fill the silence. You try to fix what doesn't want fixing. You text, you scroll, you beg the void for validation. Picture this. You stand in front of the gym mirror. The sweat dries, the lights hum, and no one is watching. You check your phone again. Nothing. That emptiness burns because it shows you how much of your worth depended on response. And in that burn, you meet yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The Romans sat in arenas of blood and noise, yet the strongest warrior learned to master stillness. He didn't chase approval from the crowd. He faced the silence between the cheers. Today, your arena looks different. It's the unread message, the unfollow, the friend who disappears when you fall. Silence is no longer a punishment. It's a mirror. It shows you where you leak control, where you lose discipline, where your identity bends. Most men crumble here. They fill the quiet with distractions, fake confidence, new women, false starts. But the man who holds his ground becomes dangerous. Not because he withholds emotion, but because he no longer reacts. He turns quiet into calibration. Every second you stay still, you reclaim ground. You learn to hear thought without panic. You remember your breath, your work, your direction. Silence becomes your edge, your unseen training. Train your silence. Do you have the courage to listen to what it tells you? Because when you stop chasing noise, the world starts to notice. And as you settle into that calm, something begins to shift. You stop reaching. You start drawing her back without a word. Next, you find the fracture point. Section 2. Find the fracture point. When did it start to slip? Not the breakup, not the silence, but the small moment before it, when your instinct said something was off and you ignored it. You felt her distance, but you smiled through it. You noticed her eyes shift when you spoke, yet you told yourself it was nothing. Then came the proof, the message that stayed unseen. The night she turned her phone over, the way she said she was tired but stayed online. That's the fracture point, the exact place where your peace started to bleed. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Bravery begins when you stop lying to yourself. The Stoics faced loss as men face storms, not with anger, but with clarity. They knew pain reveals truth faster than comfort ever will. You live in a time where distraction hides everything. You call it moving on, but you never pause long enough to see the break. The gym, the drinks, the scrolling, all noise to bury the fracture. But it waits. It waits until you look at it without flinching. That is where strength is born. You can't rebuild until you find where the structure failed. It's not her choice that destroys you. It's your blindness to the warning signs. Once you trace the damage, you take ownership of it. And ownership turns betrayal into blueprint. You stand at the mirror again. You see the man who tolerated too much, who traded truth for comfort. Now he sees it all. The silence, the cracks, the misplaced trust. And in that clarity, he finally breathes without pretending. Face the fracture. Do you have the discipline to see where you broke before she did? Because once you name the wound, it stops owning you. And when that happens, the silence starts to bend in your favor. Next, you stop chasing attention. Section 3. Stop chasing attention. Why do you keep checking your phone? You already know she won't reply. Still, you scroll, refresh, and wait for a sign that you still matter. That hunger is not love. It's weakness wearing memory as perfume. You sit on the edge of the bed, screen glowing against the dark. Your chest feels heavy, not from heartbreak but from habit. You became addicted to reaction. Her validation turned into your pulse, and now, without it, you mistake withdrawal for loss. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish." The wise man learns to be unseen, unheard, and underestimated. He knows that attention is a leash disguised as desire. In Rome, men fought for glory, but the strongest Stoics refused the crowd. They mastered indifference. They learned that silence makes the world chase what it cannot control. You live in a world that sells you noise, likes, messages, constant proof that you exist. But every time you reach, you confirm your dependence. You tell the world that your worth can be measured by response. That's how power leaks quietly. The man who stops chasing attention begins to build gravity. He doesn't need to announce progress. He doesn't explain silence. He focuses on structure, his body, his work, his words. People start to notice because he stopped asking to be seen. Detach from the reaction. Detach from the urge to prove. Detach from the mirror that reflects through her eyes. Hold your stillness. Do you have the strength to disappear long enough for your value to speak louder than your words? Because once you stop chasing attention, you start commanding it. And when that shift happens, her silence won't haunt you anymore. It will expose her confusion. Next, you rebuild your emotional baseline. Section 4. Rebuild emotional baseline. When did you last feel steady? Not happy, not excited, just level. You forgot what that feels like because chaos became your rhythm. Every message, every high, every fight kept your pulse hostage. Now it's quiet, and the quiet feels wrong. You reach for noise because peace feels empty. That's the sign you've lost your baseline. Your emotions move with her mood, not your mission. Marcus Aurelius said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." That calm is not numbness, it's control. The Stoics trained it daily, through hunger, through exile, through loss. They knew emotion is a tool, not a master. Your modern battle isn't in the arena. It's in your routine, your habits, your reactions. The world provokes you with distraction and reward. Every click, every flirt, every conflict tries to pull you out of center. To rebuild your baseline, you must strip it down. Sleep when you said you would. Train when you don't feel like it. Eat for strength, not comfort. Speak less. Think slower. Move with intention. At first it feels empty, but that emptiness is healing. Your nervous system resets when you stop chasing chaos. You start noticing your own thoughts again. You stop waiting for her energy to define your day. The body steadies first, then the mind follows. Every breath you control becomes a declaration of power. Every silence you hold becomes proof that you no longer need validation to exist. Rebuild your center. Do you have the patience to live without the highs until peace feels normal again? Because when calm becomes your default, control becomes effortless. And from that stillness, your next move will carry weight. Next, you cement your masculine frame. Section 5. Cement your masculine frame. When did you start bending? When did you trade respect for comfort, truth for peace? You felt the shift the moment you stopped leading. She didn't take your power, you handed it over piece by piece. It starts small. You change your tone to keep her calm. You cancel plans to avoid conflict. You apologize for things you didn't do. That's how men lose their shape. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." You prove yourself not by control but by endurance. Your frame is not muscle or posture. It's the invisible structure that holds your values when pressure hits. The Stoics stood firm against ridicule, exile, and betrayal. They didn't seek approval because approval weakens resolve. They measured strength by consistency. They acted the same in comfort and crisis. Your modern test is quieter. It's in how you respond when she tests boundaries. When life pushes you off course, do you hold or fold? You can't command respect if your emotions shift with her tone. Cementing your frame means returning to non-negotiables. You decide what matters and you protect it. Not with anger, but with calm certainty. You stop explaining. You stop seeking understanding from people who profit from your weakness. Every time you say no without guilt, you rebuild integrity. Every time you stay grounded under pressure, you strengthen your presence. You become immovable because your values stopped changing with circumstances. Hold your ground. Do you have the strength to live by your code when no one rewards you for it? Because once your frame hardens, attraction changes form. It's no longer about pursuit, it's about gravity. Next, you train desire into purpose. Section 6. Train desire into purpose. What are you chasing when you chase her? It's not love. It's the echo of validation, the rush of being chosen. You mistake attention for meaning. And when it's gone, you feel empty. Not because she left, but because your desire had no direction. You see it in the gym mirrors and late-night messages. Men trying to numb hunger with distraction. They want to feel alive again, so they reach for what's easy. But everything easy drains you. Everything hard defines you. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoics turned craving into discipline. They saw desire as fire, dangerous if uncontrolled, powerful if directed. They built empires from restraint, not indulgence. Your modern fire is no different. Sex, success, revenge, all fuel. You decide what it powers. You can waste it chasing her attention or forge it into purpose. Purpose does not ask to be seen. It demands to be built. The more you train, the less you need approval. You wake up before the world does. You push through fatigue, not for her, but for order. You start creating instead of consuming. Your body tightens, your focus sharpens, your silence gains weight. This is not suppression. It's redirection. You no longer fight desire, you command it. You let it feed your growth, not your chaos. And every moment of control builds momentum she can feel, even from a distance. Harness the hunger. Do you have the strength to turn what once distracted you into what now defines you? Because once you master your desire, you stop chasing anything. You become the pursuit. Next, you send calibrated signals. Section 7. Send calibrated signals. Why do you keep trying to prove something? Every post, every story, every glance is a message you don't realize you're sending. You think she doesn't notice, but she does. Women read energy faster than words. You think going silent is power, but silence without intention is confusion. Power lies in calibration, knowing when to act, when to speak, when to vanish. Every move either builds mystery or reveals need. You choose which one she feels. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That line is precision. The Stoics didn't announce strength. They embodied it. They didn't chase attention. They created contrast through composure. In your world, calibration means restraint. No emotional posts. No reaction texts. No attempts to prove calm. True calm doesn't need an audience. It radiates through tone, pace, and presence. When you return, your words must carry purpose. Short, centered, confident. No over-explaining, no hidden plea for validation. One message can shift the dynamic if it comes from clarity, not need. She feels the difference. Your old messages carried attachment. Your new ones carry direction. You're not seeking response, you're stating position. That's how attention returns. Not by chase, but by control. You communicate now through consistency. Your fitness, your work, your silence, all signal value. Every man in chaos competes with noise. You win by transmitting calm strength. Speak with precision. Do you have the discipline to say less and let your actions speak longer? Because once you master calibration, your presence becomes rare, and rarity pulls. Next, you return as undeniable value. Section 8. Return as undeniable value. When she left, you thought it was over. But endings are illusions. They test the weight of your worth. You broke, you bled, you rebuilt. Now comes the part most men never reach. Return. Not to chase, not to prove, but to reveal. You are not the same man she walked away from. You stand taller, quieter, harder to read. The softness is gone, but the calm stayed. Seneca wrote, "The greatest revenge is to be unlike your enemy." You don't mirror her indifference. You transcend it. You no longer measure your value by who accepts it. You became the measure itself. The ancient Stoics didn't seek glory. They became the standard through endurance. They turned suffering into structure. They learned that real power is quiet because it no longer needs defense. Now every move you make speaks louder than words. Your body shows discipline. Your tone carries weight. Your absence commands respect because it's no longer emotional. You exist on purpose. If she circles back, she'll feel it before you speak. The man she knew chased approval. The man before her now guards peace. He doesn't seek closure, he embodies it. That's the transformation, from reaction to command. You no longer need validation to feel seen. You became validation itself. That's the apex of masculine control. Not louder, not colder, just complete. Stand in that. Do you have the strength to let your growth speak louder than your return? Because when your value becomes undeniable, she's no longer your test. She's your mirror, and the reflection tells you what kind of man you've finally become. If you've made it this far, it means you're not just watching, you're reflecting. This journey wasn't about getting her back. It was about getting yourself back. You learned to hold silence, face the fracture, rebuild your center, and walk with quiet strength. That's what real power feels like. Not loud, not reactive, but steady. Every man watching this is on the same road in some way. Different faces, different stories, but the same fight to rise above chaos and become grounded again. And if this message hit home, know that you're part of something bigger, a growing circle of men choosing clarity over confusion, control over emotion, purpose over pain. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for doing the hard work most avoid. If you found value in this, take a second to subscribe and like the video. Not for the algorithm, but because it helps this message reach the next man who needs it. Drop your thoughts or story in the comments. I read them, and your words might help someone else find direction. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.